2 thrones, 2 crowns, 2 kings. No other Greek city dared such a system. And yet in Sparta, for over 7 centuries, the fate of the city was shared between 2 rulers. One led armies to war, the other guarded the homeland. Together, they shaped one of the most feared powers of the ancient world. Athens gave the world democracy. Sparta gave the world something stranger, older, more mysterious, a diarchy. A double throne where power was divided, never absolute. One king could not act without the other. One marched to battle, the other kept the gods appeased. This balance between war and ritual, tradition and action was the secret at the heart of Sparta's endurance. The origins of this system reach back to legend. When the Dorians invaded the Peloponnese, they brought with them descendants of Heracles himself. Among them were twin brothers, Eurysthenes and Procles. Neither could be denied the throne, so both were crowned. From them sprang 2 royal dynasties, the Agiads and the Eurypontids. From that day, Sparta always had 2 kings, 2 bloodlines, 2 heirs of Heracles. And this was not just a story, it became the backbone of Spartan identity. The people believed their kings were closer to the gods, chosen not only by blood, but by fate. While other Greek cities experimented with tyrants, assemblies, or single monarchs, Sparta stood apart, guarded by tradition, bound by 2 crowns that shared the same destiny. But make no mistake, the kings of Sparta were not absolute rulers. They were leaders, priests, generals. Yet their power was limited. Each held a seat in the Gerousia, the Council of Elders. Each performed sacrifices to Zeus before war. They commanded the army, but their every move was watched by the ephors, 5 elected magistrates chosen from the citizen body. The ephors could challenge them, fine them, even put them on trial. In some cases, a Spartan king could be removed from his throne. Unlike Persia, where the King of Kings ruled as a god on earth, in Sparta, even kings bent the knee to law and custom. This balance of power was no accident. It was designed to keep Sparta stable, to prevent one man from becoming too powerful, and to make sure that the laws of Lycurgus were stronger than the will of any ruler. Even kings had to swear oaths that they would uphold the laws year after year, standing side by side with the ephors. In peace, the dual kingship preserved order. In war, it preserved balance. Only one king would march to battle, ensuring the city was never left unguarded. The other remained to protect Sparta, to perform sacred rituals, and to stabilize politics at home. The system was practical and ingenious. No single man could claim Sparta for himself. The kings were rivals, yes, but they were also a safeguard against tyranny. And Sparta was, above all, a warrior society. The kings held the highest command in war, but even they were subject to the discipline of the Spartan army. When a king led the army, 2 ephors went with him to ensure that he obeyed the laws and did not overstep his authority. The kings were honored, but they were not untouchable. This constant tension kept Sparta strong, but it also created friction. Some Spartan kings rose above the rest and left their mark on history. Cleomenes I expanded Sparta's influence and interfered in the affairs of Athens, helping to shape the destiny of Greece itself. Agesilaus II carried the Spartan spear far from home, leading campaigns deep into Asia Minor and challenging the might of Persia on its own soil. And then, of course, Leonidas, the Agiad king who, with just 300 warriors and a few thousand allies, stood against the vast army of Xerxes at Thermopylae. His death was not a defeat but a message that Sparta would never bow. Yet while Leonidas became immortal, another king remained in Sparta, keeping the city safe and steady while the legend was being written in blood at the hot gates. But 2 kings meant 2 egos, and rivalry was inevitable. History records frequent quarrels between the Agiad and Eurypontid houses. Kings disagreed over alliances, over strategy, even over omens from the gods. One king might favor war, the other peace. One might trust Athens, while the other leaned toward Thebes. These divisions could paralyze Sparta, or in the worst cases, weaken her in the face of enemies. One of the most famous feuds was between Cleomenes I and Demaratus. Their rivalry was so fierce that Demaratus was stripped of his throne, accused of illegitimacy, and publicly humiliated. He fled to Persia, where he became an advisor to King Xerxes himself, the very man Leonidas would one day face at Thermopylae. Here we see both the strength and the danger of the double throne. Sparta could restrain her kings, but at the cost of driving them into the arms of her enemies. And yet, despite the conflicts, the system endured. For nearly 7 centuries, through the rise of Athens, the fall of Persia, and the coming of Macedonia, Sparta maintained her dual kingship. Other states rose and fell. Tyrants seized power. Empires came and went. But in Sparta, 2 crowns were always placed side by side, carried by 2 living symbols of order and tradition. The dual kingship was not just politics, it was religion. The kings were priests of Zeus, guardians of the ancient sacrifices, mediators between gods and men. Before every battle, before every major decision, they poured libations and read omens in the smoke of burning offerings. The fate of Sparta was written not only in steel and blood, but in fire and ash. For the Spartan people, this system gave a sense of continuity. Even when one king died, the other remained, and the city never stood leaderless. Even when dynasties faltered, the balance was preserved. 2 thrones, 2 voices, 2 paths that together guided one city through the storms of history. And so, the double throne endured until the very twilight of Sparta's power. It was not a flaw. It was the essence of her identity, a balance of power, a safeguard of tradition, a reminder that even kings served something greater than themselves, the law of Sparta. 2 kings, 1 city, 1 legend that still fascinates the world today.